So recently I've been asked how I do the weathering on the exhaust for my Imperial Guard tanks, and I thought it'd be a great way to get another video out showing this easy to copy technique so that you can replicate it. So let's get on weathering. So I'll be starting by mixing Vallejo model colour German camo black brown together with some MIG pigments standard rust. This will form the base coat colour for the entire of the exhaust. After that base coat is done, we'll then apply an oil wash of Winsor & Newton burnt umber oil thinned with white spirit. Then we'll apply a paint made from standard rust and white spirit, followed by a paint made from light rust and white spirit. Then once all that's done, we'll paint the manifold, dry brushing on Vallejo Model Air Gun Grey, followed by Vallejo Model Air Silver. So here I'm making the base coat colour out of the Vallejo model colour, German camo black brown and the standard rust, adding a little bit of water. You'll see what colour this makes. It's very orangey brown colour, which will dry extremely matte. Now paint this colour over the entire of the exhaust, including the manifold, which will eventually be silver, so we get a nice even coverage. Then either using a hairdryer or naturally allow the paint to dry, and you'll note that it dries very different to what it currently looks like. So now I'm going to make the oil wash out of the burnt umber oil paint and the white spirit, and then this is painted over the entire of the exhaust, but whatever you do, do not allow this to dry. So now you just need to make some paints from the two pigments that we're using, one from standard rust and one from light rust. Now all you do is you take the raw pigment and mix it with white spirit until you get a consistency that's applicable with a brush. It's worth pointing out that when mixed with the white spirit, the pigments will look a lot darker, but once they've dried they will return back to the original state. So with a fairly fine brush, begin to apply the standard rust paste to the exhaust. I apply this in a downward motion towards the area that I want the major deposit of the rust to be. This just enables a natural feathering of the rust into the recesses. You can be quite liberal with this particular layer because we're going to be refining the look further with a lighter rust in a minute anyway. So now on to the lighter rust colour. Again, we're going to be a little bit more refined with the application of this, more into the recesses of the exhaust where newer rust would build up. What we're essentially doing here is applying an inverted shade, because you will note that we're applying the lighter colour into the deeper recesses, whereas usually that would be a darker colour. So once this is applied, I then take the hairdryer and dry it all off, and you'll see how it immediately changes colour. So when it's dried, I then consider whether I want to apply any more of the lighter rust colour in order to just make certain details pop a little bit more. So if you weren't then going to paint the manifold, you could finish right here. I would probably add in some sort of rust streaks to make the area look a bit more interesting, but obviously we're not going to stop here. So then we're going to paint the manifold using a dry brush of Vallejo Model Air Gunmetal. I don't really need to explain this, it's just a basic dry brush. Then going to apply a dry brush of Vallejo Model Air Silver to the same manifold, although it will be a slightly lesser coverage than the previous dry brush. So that's done. Now there is one additional stage after this that I do using an airbrush, but can be done using a normal brush, so don't fret, and that's the application of the soot deposits at the end of the exhaust pipes. I use this black paint from culturehustle.com. Now it is a wonderfully matte black paint. It is very thick, so it does need thinning down if you're using it through the airbrush, but I've not found a black as matte as this paint. So hopefully this video has been really helpful and you'll get some great results from it. And until the next one, you take care and happy painting. And that's a wrap.